if you say you are your brain, then you're making a big mistake. You are your brain, yes, but also your body, yes, and also the environment in which you live, which you've changed with your brain, and therefore the environment is part of your brain.
If you look at the embodied cognition theory, it's a triangle shape. It's with three elements. It's the brain, it's the body, and it's the environment. And it's a dynamic system, you can say.
I don't really think we can separate the brain from the body. A lot of the way we do and think is really about some kind of interplay between the brain and the rest of the body.
We are so wonderfully connected to the world, you can't do without it.
There's something so fundamental and sort of profoundly human about the brain and its mysteries that there's inevitably something sort of poetic about trying to understand its, its workings.
The human body and the brain work together to create a movement. So the brain is not a all-knowing, decisive computer that receives perfect sensory input and produces perfect motor output. It's just struggling to find its way, and it really needs that beautiful properties of the human body and the environment to be able to actually work.
Something as simple as how do you make a movement can actually be a very complicated question.
If you want to run very fast, you've got to feel as though your feet are not touching the ground anymore, if you're flying. If you imagine that, you will run better.
I imagine tones, and at the same time I put the fingers in an imaginary key of the saxophone. So for example, this is an F and this is an A, and this helped me to really imagine the melodies in my head, see the differences between the tones, the connections.
Yeah, you can use images to come to a movement.
This movement is a translation of my imaginary brain tones.
I imagined myself as a big stone without legs and arms or fingers to help myself. And this image kept me to the ground, and it was really hard to get up.
If you trigger a certain feeling, you imagine or think about or feel certain feelings, the movement is going to be influenced by it.
You kind of calibrate yourself in terms of your emotional reaction to the things that hit you.
I'm tuning in on the situation or on the person I'm filming, and I can notice that my body wants to dance with the camera. And I think this movement defines the meaning of the image.
A person who can do something very well in sports, like speed skating, it doesn't help you to ask, how do you do it? What do you do? They won't be able to tell you. And that's one reason why it's almost impossible to improve movement by just explaining it. They just have to see it. Your movements are just expressions of brain function. And so it's not so surprising that if there is something else happening in your brain, your movements change.
Movement in the face happens with tiny muscles, and lots of them, and they are connected to our emotions. And actually it's quite difficult to control these with intention.
With facial movements, you see there is really a difference between people doing a fake smile or a smile that comes from when you feel like smiling.
Yeah, actors, they really have to learn exactly how to move the little muscles together to express something, or they really have to feel at that moment what they want to express.
Today I saw a man coming in, and he recently had a child, and he was smiling all the time. Well, that's beautiful. How does the world work? How do we work? How does it operate? You're asking questions.
If we knew everything, then it would not be interesting anymore. So it's good that we can keep on mapping.
You just want to know. You just want to know. It's curiosity. And it's also emotion, because to know something, to understand something, makes it more beautiful.
Maybe that's the case then, that science and art are two lights that are shining on the same subject, and maybe the subject is what it is to be human.